The House Oversight Committee casting an even wider net in their investigation into the Biden family business scheme and into Joe Biden's antics in general. Congressman James Comer issuing a brand new subpoena today for former White House counsel Dana Remus and requesting transcribed interviews with 4 White House employees. It follows 7 new subpoenas signed last week, along with additional requests for other transcribed interviews, the latest round focusing on Biden's alleged mishandling of classified information. Last year, classified documents were found at the Penn Biden Center in Delaware, as well as at his Wilmington home, stashed by the Corvette in the garage. The documents dating from his time as vice president all the way back to when he was in the Senate, which means he would have had to steal them from a SCIF, which is way worse than if you're the president of the United States and you have declassification power. But, of course, the media wouldn't tell you that side of the story. Remember, Biden said the difference between his classified documents case and Trump's, other than the fact that he would have had to steal the documents from a SCIF, is that in Biden's case, the information was taken by accident. And as soon as they found out, they cooperated with the National Archives to safely return the materials. However, the Oversight Committee has uncovered contradictory stories about the timeline of events, which lead to today's round of subpoenas and interview requests. President Biden's timeline was incomplete and misleading. It omitted months of communications, planning, and coordinating among multiple White House officials. It is imperative to learn whether Biden retained sensitive documents related to any countries involved in his family's foreign business dealings that brought in millions for the Biden family. Congressman James Comer joins me now. And, sir, it's good to have you on. It looks like, you know, the big problem they had with Trump was that he didn't immediately give back those documents. It's starting to look like Biden did exactly the same thing. He just didn't get raided by the Department of Justice.
You're exactly right, Rob. He did the same thing. He has lied to the American people about his timeline. We have the evidence to prove that. Now we want to bring in the general counsel because we believe that we need to know exactly which countries were involved with respect to the documents that President Biden mishandled. He's not been truthful with the American people about his timeline. He's not been truthful with the American people about his family's shady, corrupt business schemes. So now our concern is that some of the countries that have been wiring the Bidens millions and millions of dollars, including $250,000 that ended up in Joe Biden's pocket, we're concerned that some of that rationale behind the wires involved some of these classified documents that Joe Biden illegally possessed.
I mean, it wasn't there was Ukraine files among his classified documents that were taken, right? I mean, they made an absolute fortune in Ukraine. And was there anything tethered to China?
We know of one email in particular that read like a government document. We've talked to different sources. We're very concerned that that was a classified document and that was one of the classified documents that Joe Biden may have had in his possession. You know, you mentioned the difference between Trump and Biden with respect to the investigation of mishandling classified documents. Not only did they raid Mar-a-Lago, but they've also leaked to the press, the special counsel investigating that, certain documents that were in the possession of President Trump. We don't know anything that Joe Biden had in his possession. All we know is instead of one location under lock, which is what Trump had at Mar-a-Lago, we have at least 4 locations, and multiple people had access to this, people that we don't even know. They weren't locked up. We've seen the picture of the garage. How did they end up in the garage? You know, there are so many questions, but right now, if we could just have one set of questions answered, it would be which countries were involved with these classified documents? Which countries did they pertain to? And I think we've made the case as to why we're asking the question, because the Bidens have received tens of millions of dollars from some of these corrupt countries for reasons that no one knows.
Yeah. Well, at this point, you've been able to effectively prove that around $250,000 has made it directly into Joe Biden's account, which, I mean, that's as smoking as a gun can possibly be. My question is, I mean, there's one check right there for $200,000. That's from James to Joe, and it's right after Joe got a lot of money that came in, I believe. I can't remember which one that was. One of these was China. One of them was another company in the United States. But
yeah, the $40,000 was from China.
The $40,000 was from China. My question is, I know that there's been millions and millions and millions of dollars made in this crafty little scheme that they have. Where are you in finding more of that money moving in directly to Joe?
Well, we're doing that as you speak.
Yeah.
You know, we've got all these bank documents that have come in. And again, I think it's hard for the average American to understand how many different bank accounts, how many different shell companies, and how many different transactions and transfers between shell accounts, between bank accounts there were. We have them. We have them in a war room. We're trying to connect the dots. And I think the American people are going to be very concerned with some of the things that we continue to find with respect to crimes that the Biden family was committed and Joe Biden's knowledge of these crimes.
Yeah. There's so many deniers to this, and I just ask people, I'm like, how many shell companies have you opened in your life? How many people do you know that even have one shell company, let alone more than a dozen? I think it tells the story right there. Congressman, we appreciate the time, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.